Today I am joined by Lewis Hornby, founder and CEO of Jelly Drops, and we are going to talk about the personal story behind Jelly Drops and understand why hydration is sometimes overlooked in dementia care, and hopefully give listeners some simple, practical ways to improve daily life. So thank you very much for joining me, Lewis. Can you firstly start by introducing yourself and your connection with dementia?
Sure. Thank you for having me. Great to meet you. And yes, I'm Lewis. I originally came up with Jelly Drops with my late grandma Pat, and that was my introduction to dementia. Grandma was diagnosed with dementia when I was about 18. I think I just started university, and when I come back in term time, and I could see that progression over time. And this ultimately ended up with her being rushed to hospital with dehydration. I was about 22 at that time, and that's when I realised how important dehydration and hydration could be for quality of life. And that's when I sort of wanted to try and do something. So that's sort of my background in dementia, sort of through Grandma Pat and just spending a lot of time with her.
What did you notice about, or what were the first signs for you, I suppose, of Grandma Pat getting dementia?
I think she started having sort of a lot of cold calls and people coming to her door offering to sort of sell her stuff, and she was perhaps a bit more open to those offers than she would have been in the past. And I guess that was slight change in her character there. And I think that's when the rest of the family started to sort of think about it a bit more and look into that. And then I think it was probably not too long after that she had the sort of early diagnosis. But I guess generally throughout the years she had dementia. She had dementia for about 7 years in total. And she was in her own home for a long period with that, living independently, and still living a good quality of life throughout most of, almost all of her time living with dementia. But yes, it definitely changes sort of in the later stages, sort of challenges with communication and at least verbally. But, you could always sort of sit down and have a nice time together. And I think actually that was, we'll talk about it a bit more later, but really that the emotion you share with someone with dementia can be, really crucial. You might not be able to have a conversation as such, but people remember sort of how they feel. And I think that can be maintained throughout someone's journey with dementia.
Yeah, we say that a lot actually in various different episodes where lots of different guests have said exactly the same thing. Maybe not have the memories of who you are or why you're there, but they'll always have that connection through emotion and how you feel about that person. They'll always remember how you've made them feel. And that's more important than anything, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I think I didn't necessarily appreciate or could articulate that at the time. Only actually since doing sort of dementia friends training and things like that you sort of have the language maybe to describe what's going on there, but you certainly feel it sort of intuitively.
And then you reflect on it, don't you? You think, actually, yeah, I can see that now when I think back.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what has resonated with people in Jelly Drops as a way to support people's hydration is not just the hydration it's delivering, but it's the social side that it fosters. It's the social prop. It helps you have a moment, share, a nice time with someone, have something to talk about, a bit exciting, often gratefully and sort of enthusiastically received. So I think that is almost as important as the hydration it delivers. It's fostering those sort of connections.
Yeah. So hydration became a challenge for Grandma Pat. What did that look like in reality?
Well, really, we didn't fully appreciate it to start with. I think Grandma was in a care home at this stage, and I was still down at university, so the times I would see her was sort of every few months or so in those breaks. But relatively quickly, her condition started to decline. And the care staff, told us, Grandma was basically becoming completely unresponsive and was eventually rushed to hospital. We didn't really know hydration was behind it at that point. It was only when she arrived at hospital, she was put on 24 hours of IV fluid, and she was sort of back to her normal, happy self. We were basically told that that was going to be it, and she lived a good quality of life for years after that point. So that's what really shocked me, that something seemingly so simple, I guess, from the outside, hydration, could have such a huge impact. So yeah, I guess in those early stages, we didn't appreciate how significant hydration could be. And it was only when I went and lived in a care home for a month afterwards to try and help that I saw a lot of the nuances and spoke with a lot of the carers and the families and dementia experts to really appreciate it.
And like you said, that's the first thing that popped in my head. Something so simple as hydration being flagged could have made that 24 hours a whole lot different, couldn't it?
Yeah, and I think part of the challenge is a lot of the symptoms of dehydration, sort of confusion or lack of independence, tiredness, often are mistaken for dementia. Symptoms of someone's dementia, it's like their dementia is declining, perhaps. But if you can stay on top of people's hydration, they're able to live sort of more independently and healthier, much more effectively. And that has a knock-on effect to other care requirements, sort of going to the toilet or feeding themselves. So it really can be sort of quite fundamental to sort of quality of life.
Tell me about that month then that you spent in the care home. What was the sort of turning point where you thought, yeah, I need to actually move in and become a resident as such?
Yeah, well, I was very fortunate in a way in that I was studying a postgraduate called Innovation Design Engineering at the Royal College of Art and Imperial College London. My undergraduate was in engineering, civil engineering, so not quite as didn't necessarily expect to be involved with jelly drops when I was doing that. But on this course, I often describe it sort of like kindergarten for designers and engineers. You sort of have free reign to sort of do what you like and use all the knowledge you've got from your previous degree or work experience. And essentially, I had 6 months to sort of focus on an issue that I wanted to try and address. And that was just after Grandma had been hospitalised. So I thought it was a great excuse, if nothing else, just to go and spend a lot more time with her, because she was up in Yorkshire and I was stuck down in London. But through that, I guess, was able to not only spend time there and just be with Grandma, but speak with dementia psychologists and carers. And I think one of the first things I realised was there's not one reason why people struggle with dehydration. People may no longer feel thirst. They may not equate drinking with quenching that thirst. They may not recognise cups. They may not have the dexterity to pick them up. So it can be a whole host of reasons why people might struggle with dehydration, and no one's exactly the same on that. So I started by just, observing Grandma, sort of, prompting her to drink, seeing how I could encourage her or help her. I would often see these challenges sort of just being confused by what was being asked of her, or not really understanding what was in front of her, putting food in a drink potentially. So I could definitely appreciate a lot of the challenges that people face, and with all the will in the world, you can sit and encourage someone to drink, but if they don't know or understand what you're trying to help them to do, then it can be almost impossible and often quite frustrating for the person you're trying to help as well. Being with Grandma becomes much more transactional. It's, drink this, rather than just spending a nice time with each other. So I definitely appreciate how this is such a common issue and how Grandma had unfortunately ended up in hospital for it. But I did see quite a bit more independence when it came to food, perhaps, and especially finger food. It seemed a lot more intuitive. People were able to engage with it. You don't need cutlery. You can just pick it up with your fingers and eat it. Even still, it can be a bit hit and miss. Not everyone likes every food. And I think the social side of it is also really important. Sort of sitting with someone and eating, it helps prompt others to eat. But still, there wasn't one universal way or format that I found. That was until I realised whenever I bring a box of sweets in, everyone sort of looks up and turns around and sort of wants a handful. So, I mean, generally, I think it'd be fair to say when I visited the care home, most of the residents would ignore me, which is fair enough. But if I had a box of chocolates for Grandma, then sort of, everyone soon wanted sort of a quick sort of look over and grab a handful. And these are people perhaps maybe I'd never heard even speaking full sentences and would be saying, "Oh yes, thank you very much." And it just seemed to twig something that was almost quite universal. And I think actually beyond that moment, realised actually sweet tooth is often developed, even if you didn't necessarily like sweets before, with dementia, developing a sweet tooth, and bright colours and flavours and smells that engage more of the senses are really important at sort of in creating that sense of excitement and choice and engagement. And I realised if I could create maybe something that was hydrating to look like a sweet, then people could perhaps hydrate themselves, and that's where the idea came from.
Amazing. And I can relate to that from when Nan was in the care home. And when you said it becomes transactional sometimes, I was really conscious about trying to get her to drink, but then still not knowing how much she's having. Not knowing what the intake is like, and having like basically a sippy cup, which Nan would never drink out of a sippy cup. So I appreciate that. Okay, we might be at a point where that's all she can manage, but why can't she have it out of a teacup, which is normal for her? But yeah, something like a sweet would have been right up my Nan's street. The point where she like mints, and she'd hide them in the cupboard. She was diabetic as well, so anything like that was stashed away in the side cupboard. So she'd have absolutely been all over that.
I think there is also a degree of, it's a bit, naughty, a bit, oh yeah, I'll have a sweet. And they are sugar-free, they're vegan, they're gluten-free. So from a dietary point of view, we try to make them as inclusive as possible on that front. But I certainly think, there is something deeper going on there, sort of emotionally, but also sort of in terms of people's tastes changing, that mean that sort of desire for sweet sort of, is maintained, and if anything grows through someone's dementia. But yeah, I think it's quite universal in the response. And actually, when I created this prototype for my grandma, I wasn't necessarily thinking, I need to sort of launch this to everyone. It was just a project I was doing with my grandma. I put a video online of eating this prototype. She ate 7 drops in the first 10 minutes. It was for a design award I was applying for. I didn't win it, but people took that video, put it on Facebook and things like that. And within a couple of weeks, I had 100 million views. And I had 50,000 people email me. And I was 23 at the time, making in my student flat. So it was quite overwhelming. But really sort of went to show how, unfortunately, universal this challenge is, and potentially how universal sort of the J-Drops as a format can help. And it's not to replace other ways of trying to help people get hydration. It's a tool in addition, but it can be a crucial tool to really help keep people that are really struggling to top up their hydration to a healthy place.
Yeah, like you say, it's not a replacement, but if it works because other, traditional ways aren't working, then it works, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me about the prototype then, and how the idea of Jelly Drops came about. Sort of what was that design process like, and what was Grandma Pat's involvement in that?
Yeah, so Grandma probably had to endure quite a few prototypes that maybe didn't go down quite as well. I had like a bento box style, for example, and Grandma used to basically play chess or checkers sort of drafts with that format. It wasn't that obvious it was a food to her. Actually, I have the first prototype sort of off to the side here, which is a lot different to what it looks like now. Okay. This is essentially the box they came in.
Looks like a Ferrero Rocher box, that to me.
Yeah, exactly. So the lid would open up and there's no sweets in it, but they would hold themselves in this tray. Yeah. And the idea was actually they sort of protruded from the tray. I have a sort of the masked version of it that we made. So you can see they sort of stick up. They look like balls, but they're actually sort of teardrop shapes. And they plant themselves in the tray. And basically the thinking was, chocolate box, everyone loves chocolates. People immediately recognise it. But often they had a lid, which Grandma sometimes struggled to open. She would hold the box and then try and open the lid and not realise she was sort of holding the lid down. So on this box, this had a lid that held itself open. For example. Also, the chocolates in the tray are often brown chocolates in a black tray. So the contrast was quite poor, and it'd be hard to maybe locate which one you wanted. So these are bright, sort of shiny almost drops, so against a white background, so the contrast was really high, so you could immediately sort of see them. Different colours help give a sense of choice, so you're more likely to eat more different flavours. And they would protrude out of the tray, so you could easily get your fingers around them rather than being depressed in a tray, which often was quite fiddly. So that was all the thinking that went into that initial prototype with Grandma. Since launching, we were able to crowdsource, I guess, 100,000 people's feedback from all the people in our community, and the product's changed quite a lot since then. So this is more what it looks like now. They're in pots, smaller portion size, perhaps not as overfacing. If you're not used to eating that much, different flavors, different pots, so you can have a few at a time. Pick the flavors that you like, and the drops themselves are, easier to sort of just pick up out the pot and eat. So they're a lot smaller.
You didn't need to. You didn't need to do that. You just wanted to have one, then, really, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we eat them in the office all the time. They are very nice. They're sort of guilt-free as well.
Hydration is important for everybody, right? So important.
Yeah, there's less than 10 calories per pot as well. So we snack on them sort of all the time.
That's great. What about the flavours? How did they?
Yes. So the sort of traditional jelly-like flavours.
Okay.
Especially with my grandma Jean, not my grandma, my other grandma, she used to pick me up from school when I was in primary school. We used to make jelly every Monday, and there's all the classic sort of jelly flavours. So strawberry, raspberry, peach, lemon, blackcurrant, orange. And that gives you a variety of different colours and flavours to choose from, and it's something to talk about as well. You like strawberry, I like lemon. Oh, can I have one of yours? And I think that was really key. These are not out of place anywhere. They're not medicalised. They're not don't look out of place in your home, in your bedroom, in your lounge, out and about. And it's something to share. I'm willing to and look forward to eating a pack of jelly drops as my grandma would. So I think that was really key, that it's not I'm watching you eat this pack of sweets necessarily, although that may be the sort of, the person with dementia maybe eating more than I are, but you're willing to share them, and I think that's a really important part.
Yeah, it becomes a social interaction around, like you said, around food. Food it's a social thing, isn't it? And that's just another important area that sometimes is overlooked when it comes to people with dementia, how important that social interaction is, and that communication and that connection. And you can do that so well with food whilst hydrating. Like, you're ticking so many boxes, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. I think that is really the sort of underlying driver of it. I'm coming to you with a gift, almost something we can share, and a nice moment. Hydration is almost a byproduct of that. Yeah.
Why do you think hydration is so overlooked in dementia care?
I know a lot of more awareness is perhaps around it. Now, our Alzheimer's Society is doing a lot of fantastic work. I know a lot of care homes do a lot of great initiatives through Nutrition and Hydration Week, but throughout the year, and they also have fluid charts and things like that. I think perhaps we all know we're probably not hydrated enough, and it's almost taken for granted that, I'm probably not hydrated as I should be, but it's okay. When actually, it can be very serious, and it can really impact your quality of life. So I think, like you said, it's also difficult often to know how hydrated someone is. It's hard to do a test as such. There's telltale signs with perhaps maybe urine and skin and dryness and things like that, but it's not an exact science. And if I've drunk a cup of water, and there's half of it left, well, how full was it to start with, and how much have I drunk, and have I spilt a bit, and who's actually sort of measuring it out. And I think in the care home setting, where there's perhaps different shifts and different carers coming on, if you're not on a fluid chart, then maybe I've offered you a cup of tea and you've not drunk it, but I didn't know also that the carer before me offered you a cup of tea and you didn't drink it, and after a couple of days, then that can really have quite a big impact. So it is challenging, and it's hard to really get a very accurate steer on how hydrated someone is. And I think that's why just more awareness and more sort of ways of trying to tackle it, and just building that into routines and sort of normal care patterns sort of is key to really sort of, helping people maintain that healthy level of hydration.
Yeah, and like I said, jelly drops can just support that, can't it? Just by keeping on top of it, because it's this attractive product that will just keep people enticed by picking up a sweet and keeping hydrated. How do you know what's the content of one jelly drop then?
So each jelly drop is about 5 ml. So each pot contains about 9 drops, and they're about 50. That's about 50 ml. So the idea is to have a few of these pots throughout the day, maybe 3, 4, 5 pots, and that's about 250 ml. So it's equivalent to drinking perhaps a glass of water. So it's one tool to complement, I guess, a raft of others, high water content foods in general, soups, fruits, ice lollies, these sorts of things as well can contribute well. Adding flavours and colours to people's drinks, perhaps using a clear glass so people can see it more clearly. if people do need aids, sort of from a dexterity point of view, like you said, a sippy cup, if that helps, I think, there's all different ways to try it, and I guess it's on a person sort of individual basis whether they sort of like using things like that or not. And I think there's all sort of key ways that we can sort of help people maintain their hydration.
Yeah, and like you say, it's a great way to describe it. It complements everything else that we're trying, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's the uptake from the care homes then? Is it a better uptake in the care homes or with individual families with people living independently? What's that look like?
So at the moment, actually, most of our customers are the families of loved ones buying it for a relative. So I guess that's sort of where Jelly Drops has come from, and the story that sort of resonates with a lot of people, and just the way that we've looked to get the product out there as fast as we can, and also in response, I guess, a lot of that initial interest we had in it when those videos went viral. That was a lot of people signing up for their loved ones, sort of wanting it. So that's sort of where we started. But we are used in hundreds of care homes. We're also used in various NHS trusts. So I guess to that point around they're not really looking out of place anywhere. They are in NHS wards, they are in care homes, they are in people's own homes. So I think the fact that they are sort of stigma-free, they're sort of dignified, they're just sort of a normal thing to enjoy. It means that they can spread into all these different settings and people can see all different values in them. So, we've been very fortunate that we also have a very engaged champions network, which are healthcare professionals, essentially, people, or perhaps people who work at charities in the community, home carers, care home workers, nurses, doctors, that see a lot of people that are struggling with hydration, want to spread not just information about Jelly Drops, but hydration more generally. So we love to support them with free samples and leaflets about tips to stay hydrated, shared from the Alzheimer's Society. We've had a lot of support, not just from people looking to support their loved ones, but also healthcare professionals more generally.
Can you share any feedback, or a particular story where you've seen the benefit of Jelly Drops or the impact that it's had?
Yeah, I mean, we've had thousands of reviews and feedbacks, and I think through the team that sort of speak often to our customers directly, there's countless stories of people that felt it's help people's UTIs, help people sort of be more alert, come out of their room in their care home perhaps more often. And I think speaking to healthcare professionals that can really see how little a lot of people with dementia may be getting in terms of hydration, how much a significant boost Jelly Drops can provide those people has been really sort of eye-opening, I guess, beyond just my experience with Grandma. It's really is a sort of relatively universal challenge.
I bet she's absolutely super proud of you, for what you've created. She will be, won't she?
I think she would be. I think unfortunately, Grandma passed away in 2020, but throughout the whole development, past the media, I don't think she realised that 100 million people had seen videos of her. I'm not sure if maybe she would what she would have thought of that, but I think I think she would be very proud. And actually, we're called Jelly Drops, but our sort of house name, Pattinson's, which just gives it a bit more, I guess, tradition to the brand. It's sort of a mashup of my grandma's name, so Pat Dickinson was her name, so made it Pattinson.
I love that. And what's the cost involved, Lewis, with a pack?
So each pot like this is for 99p. So if you subscribe, you typically get a box of 42 of these, 6 different flavours. So 99p, you can cancel any time, you can pause it. We appreciate people's situations are often changing, so there's no sort of barriers to anything like that. So 99p is the cheapest way to buy. That's from our website. We also sell one-time purchase of a 21 pack and a 42 pack, which is slightly more expensive per pack. But
that's really cheap. I was expecting it to be more than that, to be honest. But I think that's really cheap. Yeah,
I think when you compare sort of a takeaway coffee or something that I might not think. I probably would think twice about buying that every day. But a few pots a day. It's sort of is sort of that sort of ballpark. We try to make it as accessible as possible. So
or a bottle of water. You're probably only getting 500 ml, cost you over £1 as well. So and this is better, more flavoursome, and novel as well, right?
Yeah, I think for people that would really struggle drinking a bottle of water, it's obviously can be quite a critical addition to their overall fluid intake. So yeah, exactly. We try to make it as accessible as possible, and that's also in line with sort of being a direct to consumer company. We ship it to people's houses, we ship it to where a relative might be staying. We try to just make it as accessible as we can.
And I was just thinking back to the water thing as well, or trying to compare it to water. The amount of people that say I don't like water, it's just boring. Like, and this is just an alternative.
Mm-hmm.
I love that idea. I'll be ordering mine. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
What's next on the list, or how have you expanded already? Maybe from jelly drops.
Yeah, so I guess I mentioned that when I first put that video online, didn't expect too much back from it, but had 30,000 people email. About 50,000, sorry, 30,000 of those were in the US. So we launched in the US a couple of years ago, and that's been fantastic to reach those people finally after having all that interest very early on, and that's taken off as big in the US as it has in the UK. Again, sort of showing how global an issue this really is. In addition to that, we've also launched in Canada since then. And I think, really looking to spread it to as many people as we can. So that's definitely a sort of key focus beyond the UK, sort of getting this into people's hands as fast as we can. And also how we can continue evolving and improving the product. Like I've sort of showed the original concept and what it is now. Almost every aspect's changed. The texture's changed. The flavors have been tweaked. The packaging. But we've also added, there's not just 95% water, there's electrolytes, there's vitamins B12, B9, B6 in there, which supports cognition, immune system, overall health. So always looking at ways we can sort of further develop the benefits that we can give to people.
So it's always evolving, right? You're always thinking about ways to improve it.
Yeah, no, almost every aspect sort of changed probably a few times now, which, is hugely, to the credit of our community. They're very supportive of what we're trying to do and how we're trying to help. And I think we really do listen to people's feedback and want to take that all on board. So that's definitely something we're very keen and proud to sort of have that relationship with our customers and be able to sort of act on it as quickly as we can.
Yeah. And for anyone listening that might be a caregiver or people or staff working in a care home, what would you say from your personal experience would be things to watch out for when it comes to dehydration that may be overlooked?
Yeah, I think, I would say also I'm not a medical professional, so
absolutely.
definitely, it's good to get good advice there. But I think that the symptoms I mentioned earlier around sort of drowsiness, around sort of more confusion, delirium, perhaps falls, UTIs, urine, things like that, the skin and how sort of dry, it can be dry mouth, for example. So I think there are a lot of small signs that can add up, but it is true that it can be very difficult. I think there's a lot of innovation going on in how to monitor people's hydration at the Alzheimer's Society through their innovation program, which we've been very fortunate to benefit from. We were the first company on that program. They are also working with a lot of great startups and companies that are looking to sort of shed more light on how to monitor things like hydration. So I think there's a lot of good things coming through and apps to help track hydration, all these sorts of things. But I think it can be a challenge, and the best way to sort of mitigate that is to sort of help as many different ways that you can sort of keep someone's hydration at a healthy level.
I think it's looking for anything that's probably out of character or out of the ordinary, right? Than what you're used to seeing, and maybe because, like we said at the beginning, hydration is such a simple thing, maybe jump to that conclusion first, like, could this be hydration? As much as we say seek medical advice, but one, keep on top of hydration best as you can and complement it with things such as jelly drops, but two, look for ways to hydrate as best you can.
Yeah, I think definitely keeping it front of mind, and I guess that doesn't just go for people living with dementia. It goes almost for everyone. You know, I can often find I'm you know, maybe not feeling quite on it. Have I drunk anything recently? Probably not. So I think, you know, you can often recognise the benefit hydration can have in your own life, and I think, you know, obviously that's exactly the same for someone living with dementia.
100%, 100%. So before we sign off, I always ask my guests this question. If you could offer one piece of advice or guidance to the listeners, what would that be?
I think it's tricky just to sort of distill it down
you don't
to
have
one
to have
thing.
one.
But
I know everybody says that. You can have more than one.
I think trying to take like a sort of almost step back sort of, I guess, thought was that, you know, I guess through developing Jelly Drops and spending time with Grandma and you know, in Grandma's care home, you realise that some things that look like a real challenge, and, you know, Grandma won't drink or can't drink, you know, yeah, that's almost like she can't drink or won't drink with, like, I guess, the tools that she had, or maybe the tools that she's used to using. But if you can think about something in a slightly different way, often you can find you know, something that can cut through or help make life easier. And maybe that's just on a person-to-person basis. Maybe it's not going to be a universal solution, but I think just thinking around how you can support someone to live as independently and as high a quality of life as possible, which, you know, often, you know, obviously a lot of people are doing anyway. But I think, you know, trying to think about it a bit more differently can really help sort of address some of the sort of basic challenges people have to just live a bit more independently and healthier for longer. So yeah, I think just encouraging sort of people to I guess to think with that mindset, which I think is ultimately what led to Jelly Drops being created in the first place.
100%. It's looking at how we can adapt ways, isn't it? Rather than thinking they can't do that anymore, let's try and look for a solution instead. Yeah, let's try and be creative in whatever shape or form that takes, I suppose.
Yeah, and we know from our community, you know, everyone's, you know, a lot of people are doing this and have amazing ideas and all different ways that they know work for them. So yeah, I think it's that, and also the sort of dignity side of it as well, sort of finding something that works, that is, you know, when you're doing it, it sort of preserves that sense of, you know, peace and enjoyment, and that social side of it as well. It's because, like you said, that's sort of what sticks with people. They might not forget. They might forget that you've you know, that they drank something earlier, but you don't forget maybe how that interaction made them feel. So I think if we could, like, think through that lens too, then that's also really valuable.
Great piece of advice. Thank you very much for that. And I think the amount of people that share their personal stories on the podcast, where something beautiful has been created from something like dementia, but through their own personal experience, like Jelly Drops and so many more, is a great thing, and something that we should be sharing a lot more. Thank you very much. I will be on my way now to go online and order myself a box of Jelly Drops. I'll let you know what I think.
Great.
Thank you so much, Lewis. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.